Hello, I'm Asha Tanna in Istanbul. It's the world's second biggest economy, and what happens to China matters to everyone on the planet. So the latest figures pointing to a sharp slowdown in exports and imports is concerning for both China and the rest of the world. Azhar Sukri takes a closer look.
Trying to change the course of an economic giant is no easy task, but that is exactly what China's government is attempting. It wants to reduce its dependence on exporting large quantities of cheap goods to the rest of the world, and instead it's hoping that its own people will be the biggest buyers of the things made in its factories. The strategy seems to be having mixed results. Exports have slowed for 12 of the last 13 months, indicating weakness overseas, but imports have contracted for 21 months, and economists see that as a sign that domestic demand is also weak. And that's raising questions about how authorities, including the central bank, the People's Bank of China, will respond.
I think it's a sign that both the global economy is weaker and, of course, the internal Chinese economy isn't as strong as it should be. And, of course, then we have to think about what happens next, what kind of actions the Chinese government, the PBOC, take to try and cushion the impact of any weakness here.
In July, China's exports fell by 4.4% compared to the same month last year. That's after a 4.8% year-on-year decline in June. Imports slumped by 12.5% last month, the biggest fall since February. The trade figures are just one of several challenges that China is facing. For decades, the government had encouraged companies to build factories, homes, and infrastructure. But the economy grew at its slowest pace in 25 years last year, and many of those factories and buildings now lie abandoned. Trimming that excess capacity is one of the government's main priorities.
And it has to find a way of doing that without increasing popular discontent. So that's the major issue for the Chinese government. It did rear its head a few months ago, and it could continue to do so.
Few countries have managed to make the kind of economic shift that China's government is attempting, especially in such a short time. Its success or failure will affect not just its own people, but nations everywhere. Azhar Sukri, TRT World.
Well, Azhar Sukri joins me in the studio. Azhar, we know that China is facing many challenges. Let's just take a look at them. Loan quality at its banks are getting worse. Companies aren't investing. Confidence is slipping. Is China headed for a slowdown?
Yeah, look, I mean, I've been covering China on and off for more than a decade, and over that time, you know, there have been plenty of doomsayers, the coming collapse of China, all that sort of stuff, and China keeps on growing. The thing is, now is a little bit different. Before, China had a growing world economy to export to. Now, a lot of its export markets, as we've seen, are slowing down. So the probability of it being able to do the same kinds of things that it has done over the last decade looks like they are diminishing. One economist, Richard Duncan, says that that problem that you mentioned, the loan quality, the non-performing loans in the banks, could be a major stumbling block for China in the months and years to come.
Well, the G20 summit is next month. China is playing host. What is the government going to do to prop up the economy?
In a word, hopefully, it probably doesn't want to do too much. It probably wants to keep things very stable as things are. Probably wants to keep the yuan as stable as it can. It doesn't really want to be in the news very much ahead of that. But going forwards, it is going to be facing problems with the G20 and its major trading partners. We've been hearing from Donald Trump, who's been China bashing, Hillary Clinton also sounding very tough on China. Whoever comes to the White House next is going to be pretty hard for China.
OK, Azhar, thank you.